Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, then please do not continue to listen until after you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea podcast. So this week, for November, we are doing a pretty popular movie, Insidious. I'm sure any horror movie fan out there has heard of it at least once. And if not, and if you have, you probably know a lot of people that love it. But before we dive into that, let's talk about what tea we're drinking. Do you want to start us off, Jess?
Sure. So I got a bunch of samples from Brutalities, and this particular one is called Back in Blackberry.
Ooh.
It is black tea, blackberry cream flavor, and raspberry leaves.
That sounds pretty tasty.
It's tasty. And it smells amazing.
Oh. This week I am drinking another tea drop tea, but it's their matcha green tea, and it's kind of nice because they pre-sweeten it. And honestly, it's a little bit on the sweeter side for me, but it's pretty tasty. I like it.
Nice.
So, off to the movie summary. So, this family just moved into a new house, and it's two sons. I believe the baby's her daughter. Thank you. And then a husband and a wife. And the strange things are kind of happening in the house. Like the door to the attic, for example, creaks open, but not a whole lot of activity is happening. Well, this changes whenever the son, he gets hurt. So they initially think that he's in a coma because of this, but he falls asleep that night and he doesn't wake up. And the doctors have examined him. They can't everything looks normal. They can't figure out what's wrong.
Brain activity is normal. Breathing is normal.
Yes.
Just unresponsive.
Yes. And so to add on to that, once the son goes into a coma, the activity starts picking up to where the mother is hearing things, she's seeing things, and it gets to the point where they even move houses. So they move houses, the activity is still happening, and her husband's mother suggests this,
Psychic?
Yeah, psychic. I didn't know if you'd consider her a clairvoyant, but either way, so the Elise, who is the psychic or clairvoyant, she tells them that their son is not in a coma, but he has the ability to astro project, and apparently she thinks that he essentially wandered too far, and he's lost and can't find his way back, and so the dead in this lore can tell when there's an empty vessel, and since they are craving life again, they're trying to enter his body, which apparently takes time to, I guess, weaken the body or have them gain enough strength. But essentially the the entity that has firsties on the body is
called Dibs.
Yeah, called Dibs, is this demon, which in the credits say is they call it the lipstick demon because he looks like Darth Maul.
I mean, not wrong.
Yeah. So, but anyways, come to find out, the dad, whenever he was a kid, had the ability to astro project, but it became a problem to where Elise had helped him forget how to do it, which is how she knew his mother. And so she walks him through how to astro project. He goes into the world of the dead, which they call the further, and he grabs his son, and The son makes it to his body okay, but there's a nice little plot twist at the end where the dad doesn't make it back to his body. It's the entity that was following him as a kid. And then, yeah, that's it. Yay! Cliffhanger! But moving on to entertainment, since I know you're probably going to have a little bit more to say about it than me, I'm going to go ahead and start us off. So I originally was thinking a 6.5, but after hearing you talk about it, it kind of makes me want to go down to a 6. I don't know. I'm really shaky. Like, it's definitely at least a 6, but it's kind of a 6.5 for me. But the reason being is a little bit of trivia. We found out that they only filmed this movie in 3 weeks. And based off of the pacing of the movie, the unfleshed parts of the story that they don't explain, it definitely feels like they rushed it. And they didn't think things completely through. Like, even the second movie aside, where it fills up some of the plot holes, which I kind of gathered that they probably started filming this movie with the intention of there being a second movie. But just this movie alone, I'm okay with them not explaining some things, since they did come out with a sequel. But just the whole, like, the further, they really don't explain much about the further. And they, like, half of the movie is Josh in the further trying to find his son. So it's like, if you're going to spend that much time in a world that is unfamiliar to the audience, they really should have put a little bit more time in explaining it or shortening it, and then maybe filling that gap with more explanation.
I feel like it wasn't half the movie, because it was really only the last, 20 minutes.
Whenever there's one part where I had paused the movie and it was at 55, and that's whenever they started talking about the further and working on him getting in there. But either way, it is even if it's not half of the movie, it is a significant portion.
It is.
And it would have been nice.
It's one of the most important parts.
Yeah. And then, I think anything additional I have to add is something that you'll want to talk about. So, what do you rate it?
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this by saying I don't hate the movie. I know it's probably going to sound like it, but I don't hate the movie. I like the second one better, but this one is not my favorite. I give this one, and I know at least one person that's going to be mad at me for this. I give this one a 5.5 out of 10.
Cold.
It's not my favorite. It's not one that, out of a list of scary movies, I jump at and say, you know what, we have to watch this one. It's just not. And a lot of that is the amount of jump scares that they have.
Yes.
Which might not necessarily have been jump scares if they didn't have an absurd amount of loud noise that accompanies them. Yeah. It was unnecessary how loud it was for no reason.
Just an example for you guys, I think one of the best examples is whenever Josh is in the further, there's a part where this white ghost kind of goes past him, and they, of course, do the, make it a jump scare, but it's the most they should have done is a little whoosh, and that would just make it
creepy enough.
Yeah.
It was creepy enough. He's in the further. There are dead people everywhere. He's not expecting one to walk right by him. It's creepy enough. You don't need the giant, loud noise screeching through your eardrums at that time. It's not necessary. And the title screen. bugs the crap out of me with how loud it is. There's no reason for it. None. Whatsoever. Rebalance your sound. I get it was filmed in 3 weeks, but rebalance your sound.
Yeah.
We don't need bleeding eardrums when we come out of the movie.
And in the second movie, they did definitely tone down the
a little bit. I feel like
there's still a lot.
Quite that much, and the sound is still a little high on that one. But they also have there are some scenes that are like stupid and honestly kind of funny that just take you out of the creep factor completely. Like when the demon is shown right next to his face going just kind of like mouth open and a scream kind of at the lady. It's just, I can't help but laugh. I can't.
Or even like the kid where they start playing Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Like there's nothing scary about that song. I'm sorry. Like it's not, I wouldn't.
It's only creepy because there's a little ghost kid. And the little ghost kid is always the creepiest part of any movie ever.
Yeah.
The kids are not okay in scary movies.
Yeah.
But also when the demon, most of these revolve around the demon because he was just not very well thought through. When he's at the window looking at them, flicking out his tongue, I lose it every time. I can't keep a straight face ever during that scene. I can't take it seriously. Yeah. I can't.
Yeah, it's pretty
like the ghosts are way scarier than the demon is.
Or like hearing and seeing the hooves of the demon.
I was making fun of the entire scene.
Yeah, it's pretty silly.
I can't with the demon, guys.
Yeah, like it was honestly a cool idea, but the execution was
fell short.
Terrible. Like
it fell short.
I was telling Jess, like if they had kept it at Elise's drawing to where it's just this dark figure and you just see the eyes, and they kept him very concealed, that would have been great. And they also gave some of the ghosts some really stupid noises. Like whenever Josh is about to go through the red door and the guy goes to attack him and he's like, oh, I'm more powerful because I'm living. And then he like pushes him away and the guy's like, whoa! Like it's just ridiculous.
A little bit. Also, before he went into the further, Elise told him, this is a dangerous place. Do not draw attention to yourself. If they know that you are not like them, they will try to get you. He had one job.
He talks to every single freaking person.
Single one he comes into contact with. Every single one he sees, he talks to or interacts with in some way, shape, or form. You had one job. Get in, unnoticed, find your kid, get out.
Yeah, just...
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm like, he's a teacher. He should be good at following instructions.
Instead, runs around yelling after his kid and all. Talks to every single one. I'm looking for my son. Have you seen him? Interacting with them, touching a couple of them. Stop it. Stop it. You were not listening the entire time. And then Elise said that she was going to be the guide for this entire thing. Follow my voice. It's let my voice be your guide. And then she doesn't really talk. Like the entire rest of the time that he's in the further. And she makes his wife, be the one to call him back.
Yeah.
Okay, but you said to listen for you. You're the one that's supposed to be knowledgeable in this field. Walk me through how to get back. Do something. No. So just those things, it just brings the movie down a little bit for me.
Yeah, they had some inconsistencies. Like
it was.
Like overall, It's not a bad movie. Like, if anything, out of all of the horror movies, it's on the better scary movie side. But it's like, out of a list of all of the horror movies that I love watching, it's definitely near the bottom of my list.
It doesn't make my top list in any way, honestly. And again, I do like the movie. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second one is better.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Even if they made little tweaks, it would have improved the movie. Like the cinematography.
If they rebalanced the sound, it would have gone up at least a point.
Yeah, like the only thing pretty solid in this movie was the cinematography. But if they were a lot more careful about where they put the sounds, and they don't need to make those sounds ear piercing. But let the creepy scenes be creepy. If you want to have a few jump scares, whatever, but make them few and far between. They also should have improved the pacing, because that definitely is pretty detrimental, and also prevents them from explaining things that just leaves the audience confused, even after you see the sequel.
Yeah.
And then just...
I don't know. I feel like it was the biggest issue that I have with the inconsistencies is the further itself. They don't explain that much about it. The rules that are there, nothing about the background of it. It's just, it doesn't make that much sense. And you feel more confused than anything about it.
Yeah.
Not so much scared.
Yeah,
when it could actually be scary.
Yeah. The ghosts are pretty inconsistent in what they do and what they are able to do.
Yeah, some are helping, some are just kind of wandering and don't really pay him that much mind. Others freak him out. Others attack him. So it was very inconsistent and doesn't... I don't know. It's just kind of meh.
Yeah.
Overall, it was just kind of meh. But let's go ahead and move on to realism.
Yeah.
Before that one person kills me.
So I would give it I would give it a 4, which I know is the same rating that you would give it. My biggest thing with that hits the realism for me is, like, especially in the beginning of the movie, it feels like a very believable family. Like, the connection between the wife and the husband, like, they obviously have things going on that is creating a difficulty in their relationship, but they obviously love each other. The way that they treat their kids is very realistic, to where they're extremely loving, but they can be firm, when they need to. Like, whenever their son gets hurt, I really like that scene where you see how they treat him, where they're, like, obviously very concerned, but they also, once they know that he's okay, they kind of lighten up and be like, you gotta be careful, you're a superhero, but you're not invincible. They kind of, like, so that way he can understand without, making him feel really crappy for what he did.
Yeah, they tell him it's dangerous being up here, you shouldn't come up here, it's not safe. Yeah. We love you, where you can clearly see their concern. They ask him multiple times, are you okay? Where does it hurt? And they check out everything, his legs, make sure he can feel everything, he can move everything. They check his head. Their first and foremost concern is for his health. Not that he was up there when he shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, they did an amazing job, especially whenever the husband and wife also have their conflicts. So all of that, the character development and the relationships that they build between them, awesome. That's definitely the most realistic part about this movie. But, so, like, the mother, I know you have your own thoughts, so I'm just going to spew my thoughts, and then you can add and edit, yeah. Good. But anyways, so...
You got the talking stick, it's all good.
So whenever she starts hearing noises and she's concerned, like the first example that hits me is whenever she hears the guy over the baby monitor. My thought is I think she did the right thing on going directly to her baby, but I would also grab my cell phone, which we don't know where her cell phone was. I understand if it was a far enough distance, but the movie's not that long ago. Most of us keep our phones pretty close to us, so it's like even if it wasn't right next to her person, I feel like those few extra seconds to grab it, dial 911 while you're running up to grab your child would have been crucial if it really was someone in her house. But either way, so she kind of jumps to, we need to move extremely quickly. See, if I was going through that, I would want to rule out a few things first. I would want to go to a psychologist, make sure that it didn't have anything to do with, my mental state, or I didn't have some sort of anything wrong with my brain that would cause like hallucinations or anything like that. And then after that, if I ruled that out as a possibility, then I would get in contact with a psychic or a priest. Or if anything, maybe I'd call them both at the same time if I really wanted to get things done as quickly as possible. But it's like if I rule all of those out and then the psychic can't help and, the medication or anything isn't doing anything, at that point in time, yes, maybe I would move. But that also comes into argument on how they can afford to move, which I will pass the talking stick over to you.
So, I wouldn't necessarily jump to the phone, personally, because there have been documented cases where the baby monitors pick up other frequencies, and there are creeps out there that will hijack the frequency and talk and freak people out and all. So, my first thing would, of course, be to get the baby, check and make sure everything is fine, and then throw out the monitor. So, and just be closer to the baby, because, if the kid's crying, you're going to hear it. Mm-hmm. Especially in that house. You hear it. So, I wouldn't have jumped to that right off. If I still felt concerned, if I was still hearing odd things, then I might call 911 after checking on the kids and everything and staying with both of them in the same area, just so I can defend both of them. Because, you can take the baby out of the house, but you can't exactly move the boy when he's in a hospital bed on the second floor. And so then call the police out there. Hey, I'm just hearing weird things in the house. I'm alone here with my kids. I would really appreciate someone driving by, checking things out, just to make sure everything's cool.
Yeah.
And then, if you keep experiencing odd things, talking to a psychologist, she is going through a very traumatic thing with her son. And the relationship is obviously strained, as it would. It's realistic for it to be strained in that situation. Everyone deals with this kind of thing differently. And she does kind of call him out. He is avoiding it. He's avoiding it physically and emotionally. He's not there for his family in either capacity. Mm-hmm. So I get that. He's definitely not experiencing the things that she's seeing. It does to us feel like she jumps to that a little faster, but it has also been 3 months, so there could have been other things that she experienced and they only showed us a couple instances.
Fair.
I still, again, would have contacted someone to speak to them counseling-wise, just to see if maybe it's my stress that's getting to me, if maybe it's some kind of imbalance with me because of the stress that maybe I can deal with in a different capacity. But if that doesn't work, of course, sage all of the things. Salt everywhere. Priest, psychic, cleanse the house completely, multiple ways. And if that doesn't work, okay, maybe not necessarily move, but if we could maybe stay with family or a friend, someone who's close to us that can help out.
Yeah.
And I know not everyone has that, but his mother clearly is available and seems open to this kind of thing and understands that they might need a little bit of help.
Mm-hmm.
She's helping them move into the other house that they're leasing. So, I mean, even a few days just to get your mind off of things a little bit would probably have helped.
Yeah.
But they didn't try that at all. I do think that they did portray a lot of the strain and everything very well, but they just didn't follow a lot of the things that I feel like most people would have.
Yeah.
And some of that might have been the pacing. But, and movie's got a movie. It's got to have some kind of time frame.
Yeah.
But it's just, it just seemed a little off there.
Yeah.
The dad did take convincing, which I understand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just gonna say that's kind of the whole thing for this movie. It's like it's good, but it doesn't quite hit the mark. It's like little tiny things here and there that just kind of all add up to make this movie just.
I feel like if they made it into like a series, like a mini series, then it would have been really good and a bit more fleshed out and would have made a lot more sense.
That would have been actually pretty I would watch
the hell out of that. But they also had, when they did finally call the psychic, they did send out her tech guys first. And they did that kind of as a screening thing to make sure that they weren't dealing with just some paranoid people or nut jobs, as they said, weed out the nut jobs. They try to look for other factors that are a bit more reasonable than just, you've got a ghost. And when they do actually experience some things, he's like, yep, call Elise. Not crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely something here. So I understand that, and I appreciate that they did look for external factors and maybe faulty wiring, things like that. Higher EMF fields can mess with people's heads and make you feel uncomfortable and things like that. Also, if I know a lot of people have like carbon monoxide detectors and things like that. There's, on occasion, if there's just a minute amount that even the detectors can't quite detect, like it's not a high enough level for it to detect, some people are more sensitive than others, and it can really mess with your chemistry, for sure. So they were looking for different things like that, external factors that could explain what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. But the pacing was bad, for sure. And moving 3-ish months after they just bought that house, not quite buying it.
Especially with 3 kids.
No.
Right.
And I want to know where their other son went. Because we didn't really see him after they moved to that other house. Like, ever.
Yeah, you saw his room.
Yeah.
But you never really see him. But, in the second movie, he kind of disappears, too. Like, you see him once or twice, but they don't.
And they don't really show the baby that much, either. You see the crib and everything. You see the evidence of the baby, but you don't really see the baby.
Yeah.
Until after they're almost completely done with the movie, and they're... No, that's the son. That's not the baby, that's the son. Yep. So, no, you don't see the baby again.
Yeah. I think it's part of the pacing.
A little bit,
yeah.
Probably. And they might have had someone else watch them, maybe? But they don't mention it. At all. So, I also don't understand why the second son, Foster, mentions to his mom when they're at the first house, "Can I move rooms? I'm scared of Dalton. I don't like when he moves around at night."
That wasn't okay.
One, why? Two, she didn't tell her husband at all that he mentioned this. She doesn't try to stay up to see any of this. He doesn't stay up. I mean, if she had mentioned it to him, they could have taken shifts or watched or set up a camera at least. If he's moving around, then that might be something, if they have documentation, that's something they could take to doctors and things and show them, hey, we've run all these tests, we don't know what's going on, but he's walking at night. He's still unresponsive, but he's walking. Nothing. So, I don't know, the whole movie kind of just falls short for me.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just, it was rushed.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. But I know there's a lot of people that love this movie. And if you're one of those people, I'd love to hear, why you like it so much. Compared to the other movies that you enjoy, is it your top one? And if it is, I want to know your thoughts to figure out why. Because
we might be missing something.
Yeah. There maybe something went over our heads.
Maybe.
Or maybe we are. I mean, I know we pick apart movies. It's what we do. It's what we like to do.
I'm nitpicky.
But it's like if you're one of those people that watches a ton of horror movies and you really do love Insidious, like it's one of your top 10 favorite movies of all time, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on why.
Also, to the at least one person, I know one other person might be mad at me too. Guys, I love you. Please don't hate me. Don't be mad at me. I know y'all like this movie. I don't hate it, I promise. I still wouldn't mind a marathon. It's fine.
Well, even if you did hate it, it's just a matter of opinion. Like every single time we watch media, like we get something different from it. Even you and me, it's like we both love critiquing horror movies, but we still get something different out of them too. Because I know there's movies that I hate that you like. Like you tend to like slashers a lot more than I do. I don't understand
I'm a demented little one.
Yeah, it's like to me, oftentimes it just seems to be pointless violence. But it also depends on the movie, though.
But it's pointless violence that I can turn my brain off to.
Yeah, but there's other things you can turn your brain off to.
Yes, but it's easier to turn off my brain for those.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But let us know your thoughts. If you have any other requests for other movies that you want us to watch and review, please let us know. We do have one coming up that we will do next week. I'm sorry we couldn't do it this time, but we had some technical difficulties getting it available. So that should be resolved now, and we should be able to do that next week. Sorry for the delay. So, but until next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye.
Bye.